What's the most FK'd up thing you woke up to? My best friend just woke up missing his leg. He was in a motorcycle accident and doesn't remember anything. Very fricked up. My alarm clock was set to a, usually, FM music station. Again, to sum up, the Challenger's spacecraft has exploded on takeoff. That's how I learned about 9/11. Bob and Tom saying another plane just hit the World Trade Center as soon as my clock radio turned on. I was about 4 or 5 years old and woke up hearing tiny mew, mew. I legit thought Pokemon was real and there was a Mew in my room. I opened my eyes so excited and I was covered in blood. My cat had given birth right on top of me. I immediately started crying and my mom rushed in. She said it was beautiful, but I was absolutely horrified. I thought these wet little alien creatures just killed my cat. My cat was fine. All of her kittens were healthy and adorable, but I will certainly never forget being birthed on. Get birthed on. I was about 5 years old at the time, and my mum was yelling at me to get out of bed earlier than usual. I heard screaming from outside my bedroom, so I got up to go see what it was. There was blood all over the floor and my younger brother was crying. Turns out he'd hurt himself very, very badly and had to go to the hospital and get stitches. My husband sleep fighting. I woke up to grunting and looked over to see the silhouette of someone throwing punches and my husband not in bed. The figure came towards me and I screamed while thinking, there's an intruder. My husband is dead and I'm next. My scream woke him up. Turns out he was dreaming about a robber breaking in and he was trying to fight the guy off. A note from my ex explaining that he had to go home to change BC. He wet the bed that we were sleeping in together, but he didn't want to wake me. That's an honest man right there. I had a girlfriend who had a little studio apartment in a multi-unit building. The bed was basically 5 or 6 feet to the right of the apartment door. One night I woke up half drunk and there was a dude standing next to the bed looking down at me. The door was ajar. I got up and kind of went rah and he freaked and ran out the door and I closed it and locked it. I never found out what the deal was with that. Similar thing happened to me, except he was naked and needed me to explain the situation to him. I was a 15-year-old girl. I went to bed with a massive huntsman spider on my wall. Was feeling lazy and I figured it'd just go do spider things somewhere. 10 minutes later curiosity got the better of me and I switched the bedside lamp back on. There it was on the sheets over my chest, right near my face. Yeah, no. Who the frick sees a spider on the wall and casually thinks nah, I don't really feel like it. I woke up to find that my arm didn't work anymore. Apparently I slept at a weird angle and cut off flow to the nerves. I picked up the arm with my other hand and threw it against the wall. Didn't feel anything. Fortunately that only lasted a minute or two before the pins and needles settled back in. Happens to me all the time LMAO. I slap myself with my dead arm until it wakes up. Cold crap on my pillow. How do I know it was cold? My crap temperature gauge aka my face. My dog was angry I was gone for a week and this is how she told me. Woke up to my ceiling fan on full speed hanging from a single wire. It had fallen down while I was sleeping and I somehow managed to continue sleeping with it whipping around my room only a few inches from my body. The Koreans were right. When I had a tooth removed when I was younger, I woke up in my beloved bunk bed the next morning to all of my bedding and pillows covered in blood. I didn't know I was also covered in blood until I went to show my parents. I nearly made them poop their pants. Heck, I nearly pooped my pants when I saw myself. The most FK'd up thing about it, there was blood all over my favorite cat-shaped pillow. Oh no, not your cat-shaped pillow. 10 seconds after waking up, as I sleepily and groggily walked into the kitchen, my tactless little brother casually says over his bowl of cereal, "Did you hear that John died?" John was my very best friend for my entire life since we were very young children. We did everything together. Telling me so casually, out of the blue, after I just woke up, was exactly the wrong way of communicating this with me. I was in denial and disbelief for a very long time and it was, and sometimes still is, a very hard grieving process. My brother was only 13 at the time, so it's not really his fault, but I think the way I found out, as opposed to my dad sitting me down to have a serious conversation, absolutely played a role in how challenging it was. In my opinion, John died after falling off of his skateboard and onto his head while skating down a steep hill. Please always wear a helmet. I once got an invite on Facebook to the funeral of a friend while I was not aware of his death at all. Sat there staring at my screen for a good 20 minutes in disbelief. I had a friend who lived next door when I was a kid. I woke up one morning, like 7 or 8 am, to a lot of shouting and approaching sirens and looked outside my bedroom window to see her house engulfed in flames. She and her dad and her younger brother were in the desert that weekend, and I could see her mom in their backyard with the baby brother, so we knew everyone was okay. But it was surreal watching my friend's house burn. Probably the many times I've woken up from a dream of me thinking I was in a hot tub, but in reality I was just peeing myself in bed. I once woke up with a puddle of old vomit next to me. I was in my bed and I guess I either didn't wake up or just fell back asleep immediately and didn't care. I still don't remember actually throwing up. It was really gross. Note, this wasn't alcohol related. I had the stomach flu. I've woken up covered in vomit, with a terrible headache in a hotel room a half hour before I was supposed to be downstairs in the lobby to head to work. That was a pretty fricked up day. Also, that was alcohol related. Toss up between the Northridge quake or the time when after an hour of half asleep fidgeting from random itches to discovering a swarm of small sugar ants had decided my bed would make a great new home and were trying to move in. Oh, and when the cat had diarrhea 5 inches from my face on the bed. That counts too. I was 13 and my 4-year-old sister came to my room super late at night carrying a knife and woke me up and quietly said, "I'm going to kill you." Then walked right out of my room. The knives were high out of reach, or so we thought, but she somehow got them. Hid then for a long time after that. Last week I had a dream where someone was doing the most annoying sound in the world from Dumb and Dumber, and then that person said, "Want to hear the only sound more annoying?" and the next moment my alarm woke me up. I don't think I have ever been trolled so hard by my subconscious in my life. I once had a dream that I was seeing AC/DC in concert. Turns out it was my radio alarm clock playing Thunderstruck. My cat's being born in my bed while in elementary school. Not joking. My sister's cat's second litter was born at the foot of my bed. Didn't wake anyone up, just found it in the morning. When I was about 11, I woke up in the middle of the night to my bedroom door, which was always left open, banging back and forth, rapidly, against the wall, except there was no one there. I could visually see it moving by itself. I screamed bloody murder and a minute later my mom comes running into my room. My dog had been sleeping in front of the door and began to scratch himself with his hind legs, making the door move with his motion. My bed was positioned so that the foot of my bed blocked that floor area from my view. I could only see the top 2/3 of the door. Another time, same age, I woke up to tapping on my bedroom window. This was a 1-floor arch style home and the windowsills were 5-8 inches off the ground. Again, screamed like I was about to be murdered. Mum runs in, asks what's wrong and goes to open the shades. To which I scream even more because I don't want to see who's out there. It was our family cat who had escaped earlier that day, trying to get back in. One of his nails was stuck in the screen and as he tried to dislodge it, it would tap 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 against the glass. I am still a chicken crap to this day. For your information. Pro tip. Sleep with a heavy bright flashlight within arm's reach. If some weird stuff is going down you can blind or bludgeon the gecko on your wall. The sounds of our cat trying to throw up, the wife pushing it off the bed towards me, and then the cat clawing my face and lip as it was trying to get away from my wife. I cried a little. Couldn't she have pushed it the other way? I was sleeping in a tent in Kuwait when a Patriot missile shot off over our heads. It was very loud, very close, and at the time, I had no idea if it was incoming or outgoing. I jumped on the ground, dirt, and then ran for the bunker. Scary stuff. I was living in Northern Virginia and was invited to a New Year's Eve party, so I bought 2 bottles of champagne to take with me, but it started snowing, and I didn't think I should go out, so I stayed home, watching TV and eating popcorn and drinking champagne, both bottles. I woke up next morning on the bathroom floor with a black eye. I woke up in the middle of the night and felt someone holding my hand. I'm trying not to flip my crap, so I slowly scanned the room. No one there. arm isn't hanging off the bed, so it's not an under the bed goblin this time. No weird lumps under my covers. I'm starting to assume there's a severed freaking hand in my bed, so I freak out and let go throw the covers so I can see WTF is going on. It was my own goddamn numbered hand. I was in detox and I didn't have a roommate. I woke up to someone in my room around 5 AM. He didn't respond when I spoke to him, so I figured he was on a bunch of meds and I went back to sleep. As I'm laying there I realize that the room now smells like a fireplace campfire. I was going through alcohol withdrawal so I didn't think much of it. I wake up and go to breakfast and one of the staff asked me if I had met my roommate yet. Without answering he puts a newspaper in front of me and the article's title was "Local Man Attempts Suicide by Burning Down His Own House." My roommate had lost his job that day, went on a bender and set his bedroom on fire while he laid on the floor. The fireman dragged him out kicking and screaming, and when he saw the police he tried to get them to shoot him by attacking them. I left for rehab the next day so I never really got to talk to him. Half asleep, feeling a painful scratching sensation on my back. Shifted slightly, but it continued. Hit that moment of full consciousness and shot straight up to find an overturned tree cockroach who had been trying to catch traction on my skin to run away in my bed. It was 5 AM and I was curled up in bed fast asleep when the sound of a loud horrific scream followed by a rattling noise filled the room. I was frozen in bed with fear. After the initial shock wore off I figured it must have been an animal screaming outside my window. I spent 1 hour searching animal bird distress sounds to no avail, only to remember that I was on bad terms with the crow that lived in a tree next to my house. So I googled crow screaming and sure enough that's the noise I heard. This was confirmed when said crow turned up later that day sitting on a branch near my bedroom window, bouncing on the branch whenever he saw me like he thought it was funny. On bad terms with the crow that lived in a tree next to my house. That is one of the funniest lines I've ever read. My now ex-boyfriend's ex-girlfriend standing in the corner of his bedroom just staring us with nothing in eyes but total contempt. Explain more. One time I woke up at 1 AM to loud repeated knocking on my front door downstairs. I woke up my wife and told her to call the police and retrieved my shotgun. It was Papa John's trying to deliver a pizza to my sister, who had stayed with us on a previous weekend and ordered pizza to our place then, and I guess hadn't updated the address and ordered again. It was a weird night. This is Papa John's, open up. I woke up in the middle of the night feeling extremely itchy and covered in bed bug bites. I could still feel the bed bugs crawling on me. We lived in an apartment at the time and it turns out the previous resident was super messy and left bed bugs behind. Rolled over into a huge pile of cat urine and wet crap. This was only 2 weeks ago, on a work day, an hour and a half before my alarm would go off normally. My cat had decided to maim, eat, and then regurgitate a bird. I woke up to a feathery fiasco, blood on the walls and desk, and a featherless, headless lump of bird meat. I was in a camp and every day they would wake us up with something different. One day they came with a turned on chainsaw. In my particular case, living on the opposite side of the world from the eastern US, waking up one Wednesday morning to a quiet house, just like any other, going downstairs, making coffee, grabbing the paper out of the mailbox without looking at it, setting it and my coffee down on the table while turning on the telev. Hijacked airplanes crash into World Trade Center, New York City. Both towers have collapsed. Downtown New York in chaos. More buildings in danger of collapse. Thousands feared dead. Third plane hits Pentagon. Partially collapsed. Fourth plane crashes in Pennsylvania. Possible car bomb at State Department. Air Force One is missing. Line marks around the country evacuated amidst threats of more hijackings. All air traffic in country forced to land. Travel worldwide severely impaired. I dropped my donut, that's for sure. Sometimes I am glad that was too young to remember that day and how sad it was. My abusive and adulterous estranged husband stealing my phone from my nightstand after breaking into my house in the middle of the night. My mom watching Cujo. I was like 8. I heard my mom describing the plot of Cujo to my sister while asleep. I was dreaming about Pokemon and Cujo invaded my dream. Cujo attacked Squirtle while I grabbed Pikachu and ran for safety. I woke up in a cold sweat. Oh, I hope Pikachu is doing okay. F for Squirtle. Waking up from a semi-lucid dream where a Sauron-type dude was going trogdor on the thatched roof cottages. He shot me with a spear gun in the dream, through my right big toe just under the nail, along the length of my foot. I still vividly remember the pain and waking up while my body was still in sleep paralysis. I had a recall of Kill Bill and had to consciously convince my foot that it was okay and could move. Took about 2 minutes for me to have full motor control. I get woken up every now and then by a charley horse in the arch of my right foot or in my right calf. Don't know what causes them or why they're so painful, but I have to bite down on my arm to keep from waking the rest of the house up with painful screams. The worst at the time, my mother waking me up at 8 AM on a Saturday when I was in middle school because it's time to clean the house and mow the lawn. Now I look back at that and miss it. My roommate decided to have a drunken Tinder hookup with a guy at our place. I woke up to him completely naked peeing on the wall because he thought my room was the bathroom. My bad. My friend AJ and Dylan died in a car crash during spring break last year, and I woke up to the group chat saying AJ is dead and thought it was a joke until my friend came home crying, which I've never seen him cry before. Things happen too fast. Okay, so this one has kept me up at night, but when I was young I had a big fat plush Pikachu. Now, the way my bedroom was set up was I had the bed on one wall and a tall dresser cabinet thing on the opposite wall, and they were a fair distance away from one another. I had a bunch of plushes and action figures up there and Pikachu being the biggest sat in the center. I went to sleep one afternoon. I was maybe 12 and my parents were out and I was home alone. I woke up to an impact against my head. It was a good wallop too, not a light tap. When I finally woke up completely I see this freaking Pikachu just laying there next to my bed. Some of the other toys have been disturbed. Now the problem I have with this is the distance between my bed and the cabinet Pikachu sat on were way too far for this thing to reach me without being thrown. The height of the cabinet was not tall enough to where it could roll off and potentially reach me, again, without being thrown. Reminder, I am home alone throughout all this. I was losing my mind with fear, calling for my parents but no answer. I slept out in the living room that night and I moved out of that room the next weekend after begging with my parents for almost 3 days straight until they gave in. To this day I still cannot explain this incident. Child abuse. I used to live in an apartment complex and my bedroom shared a wall with some kid's bedroom in the unit next door. All I heard was this tremendous pounding against the wall against which I had my pillow and a kid screaming, "Oh my god, help me, he is gonna kill me," over and over again. I made a judgment call and started recording on my phone, as I figured the other neighbors would be calling police or management, and since many were older folks and this was a time before literally everyone had a smartphone, I figured it might help. After I recorded what I felt was enough, I called the manager and she said the police were already on their way and that the guy living next to me was some ex-con with a ne'er-do-well son and that the kid did something to set the dad off, hence the beating. He was evicted after that. From kindergarten to 5th grade I had an alarm clock that would play a really loud recording of Martin Luther King's speech, and so every day I would wake up to him yelling "I have a dream." It really peed me off as a kid. Felt like he was mocking me. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.